positive side as well. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So, wood touch by light, in fact, is like a feeling we experiment the first moment we saw the wood, a piece of wood on top of a box light, and we was like amazed, and we decided to begin with working with the wood, no? But let's begin from the beginning.
So this was the beginning, 1994. A painter and a musician accidentally discovered what it was like to see light through wood veneer. And it was a turning point for our lives, because with that we were able to create a life project and have something to do together. Because before then we were both not making money in our different lifestyles. As a painter and as a musician, we were working, but you have money one day and not the next.
Okay, yes.
So we decided, let's think of she decided, let's think of a project which will be good for us both.
And what happened is, when we saw the light and the wood and blah, 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 we decided to make our own lamps. And
for our house.
Yeah. And then the friends come and say, oh, it's beautiful. And then birthdays and presents and things like that, we give a lamp for them. And we began like that. But, next one.
Okay, next one. There you go.
So first thing we did was an exhibition, because I came to Spain every year to make an exhibition, and that year I decided to work like a happening and invite 36 artists. Well, no, we did, and was a super nice experience. And we rent a theater, and we put in the scenario in the stage, the invited guest, and in the butacas, in the public area, we put like 250 lamps, something. We made we invite architects, sculptors, painters, tattoo makers, fashion designers, graphic designers. Bueno.
I'd like to add here that for us, this was the only logical way to commercialize a product, because we didn't have any business experience. We had no idea about economics. We didn't know what the best way to present a product was. And for us, we weren't making at that time a product. We were making artistic light objects.
Artifacts.
Yeah.
But in 1994, the design was not something common. Normally, we didn't know we was designers. We just worked together, collaborating with theater people, ballet people, someone who has a travel agency, whatever. But normally, the career was fine arts or things like that, and then what you do is apply our sensibility to special occasions, no? Concerts or whatever. But we need to thank you, Diego, who has the one who organized all this exhibition, and he was a graphic designer, a powerful one. Eh?
I don't know if you know Diego, but Diego was one of the pioneers in Valencia. He went to the United States before there were any Apple computers in Valencia, and he bought a collection of computers for his, he had a graphic design studio, and he was an editor of books, etc. So by bringing these computers and putting together a team, he had everything we needed to start.
In fact, I met him in New York, yes, because he knocked the door, and I said, what do you want? Because I was like a little bit pissed off of everyone coming home and stay 2 days, but not 2 days for months. So I was, please tell me what are you going to do? And say, no, I'm going to be here 3 days, and say, okay. But he stayed 3 months or more.
We were able to access a level of graphic design and image creation which was, for the time, 95 when we made this one, for example, which was, when we were like going crazy with freehand and Photoshop and finding out and discovering all these incredible things you could do in graphic design. So we were starting to do this where we were combining real photography with infography, and we wouldn't have been able to do that unless it was for Diego.
And we call the exhibition Lucifer for obvious reasons because it's make light, no?
Yeah.
And
Luz is Spanish for light, and fer, for those who don't know Valenciano, is to make, so it's make light. And we had the logo of the little devil.
And in fact was like, because we receive an education with, let's see, like a little bit like this, what we want to do is all the things they teach us to don't do it. So that's why we call us Lucifer.
Right. In obviously one of the main materials in the beginning we started with wood. We had a little bit of a romance, very short, with polyester, with polypropylene, until we discovered it disintegrated with UV light, and so we stopped that collection. It was called Luthitronics. But the main collection was wood, and one of the main keystone moments in the development of the wood veneer was when we investigated and created Timberlight, which became a patent which we use now for the treatment of the wood veneer. This was in 1999, and you might be asking, what did you do before Timberlight? Well, before Timberlight, we used epoxy resins and fiberglass. We used literally the same technique you would do for making a surfboard, but we would put it to the veneer, put it on a mold, and then we would make the lights like that. But it was a complicated, sticky, messy process with rubber gloves, mask, and 8 days to begin a lamp and to end a lamp. So when Timberlight came, which was completely clear, clean, waterless, non-toxic idea, we really wanted to change the way we were working, and this allowed us to create a lot of different shapes in our collection. Timberlight, once you have applied the Timberlight finish to the wood, it becomes almost unbreakable, not unbreakable of course, but at least for manipulation purposes and design purposes, it was very, very flexible. Also, the importance for us is to have a very thin veneer. The thinner the veneer, the more translucence you can receive through the lamp. And so for us, from 0.4 to 0.6 millimeters is the thickness of the veneer. Obviously, when something is that thin, it is very easily and very fragile. So for us, it was very important to create the Timberlight process. What you're going to see now is the off-on experience, and this is kind of why we began doing what we were doing. The change in the veneer, the way the wood grain comes through, the way the soul of the veneer comes out of the lamp when you switch it on. It gives you an object which has two faces all the time. You can appreciate it when it's switched off, but also you can be fascinated by it when it's switched on. And that was what captured us the most.
Yeah, and it was a different way to understand the wood, to use it in another way, no?
Yeah. We only use 3 species of trees for our lamps, and we have selected them especially for the beauty of their grain, the evenness of the flow of their grain, and when you fold the material, how evenly it folds. And you're probably saying, yeah, but I see a lot more than 3 types of veneers up there, and the truth is, you can only see here 2 natural ones, which is the cherry and the beechwood, and all the other colors, the white and the colors, are the other species, which is Lindodendron tulipifera, also known as bolivar, tulipwood, tulipien. It has a whole bunch of names in every country, but it's a really good veneer for absorbing color. So the veneers are tinted with vegetable dye, and they are tinted after the veneer is cut and it's soaked in these pools of color.
Oh.
FSC certification is important for us as well because it is proof not only that we are using wood from controlled forests, but also that it is wood. Some people say to us, that's not wood. You know, it's pink, it's blue, it's green. And we say, yes, it is wood. And FSC is really part of the reason why we can.
Super important.
Our packaging is something in the last 2 or 3 years we've tried to really change. It's always been something, packaging is a very complicated part because it's the thing you always leave till last, and it shouldn't be last. It should be developed parallel with the product in many ways, but unfortunately due to time circumstances, the rush of trade shows, presenting prototypes, having photography sessions, sometimes packaging is just the last thing you develop. And but with us we've tried to create as much biodegradable packaging as possible, and when you receive a box from LZF which has this sticker on it, it means everything in that box is 100% biodegradable. It can be chopped up and put into your vegetable garden or in your compost heap, and it will be fine. Good. So at this point in time, also the cardboard we use is origin from 85% recycled cardboard. So combining this and using, like for example, cornstarch bags and potato starch chips instead of the polystyrene chips, and we use a lot of beehive cardboard to use instead of polystyrene footprints inside the boxes. We would love nothing more than to have every single lamp with its dedicated, beautiful box. Yeah. And you have that like Apple experience when you buy a Macintosh or something and you open the box and you go, oh my God, this is so beautiful, right? And sometimes it's not easy to get there because you're constrained by money, time, development. But sometimes we can develop packaging, and that's when we have some fun. And we work with, for example, in the mini cho, we had this claim, which was the cho must go on. And we had the box, and when the lamp is in the box and you take off the top, the C of the cho is actually there as the handle when you take it off. So these are all little important details. And then also the Maruja lamp, which is basically a flat pack kit light, comes in a beautiful family-sized pizza box, more or less. What I'm saying by that is, it is incredibly important to have good packaging, but at the same time, because things travel by FedEx and by UPS, and that's like, it's like going to a Russian gulag or something, when they do that. But anyway, packaging is important. We'll go on to the next part.
It's mine.
Yes,
no.
That's yours.
No, it's yours. It's artisan.
Okay, so in two big moments in the company history, for us anyway, where you kind of think, okay, maybe we did okay. And that is when we got the National Artisan Award in 2011. And the reason we got this award is because all our production is still handmade. We work only with small power tools. We have no industrial sized machinery, and everything is either with contact glues or clips or rivets, and it is all still handmade in our factory in Chiva. We work locally with local suppliers. In a 50-kilometer radius, we do not bring in components from overseas. We prefer to have the flexibility of working with local tradespeople and craftspeople because we have everything we need in the Comunidad Valenciana as far as manufacturing goes.
This is the factory.
Can I have that? Thanks. Okay. We also introduced glass in the last 4 years, and we're working with, this is the only production which we're doing outside of Valencia, which is in Catalonia, and we work with Edward Garuti, and this is the prototyping area for the glass in LZF in Chiva. make an order at LZF, this is what happens. It's a little 1-minute walkthrough.
And you are invited to come. Factory is an old winery.
Yeah.
We little by little reconstructed, no?
Yeah.
And has a little garden and looks like a home more than a factory. Sometimes.
I think for us, really, in fact, we actually lived in the factory for the first 7 months. We thought it would be a cool idea. It wasn't such a good idea because at 7 o'clock in the morning you had people banging on the production floor and we were trying to sleep, and we were sleeping late because we were doing marketing campaigns until 2, 3 in the morning. So finally we decided the best thing was to leave the factory as the factory. The garden for me is very important. I was born in Australia. I lived always in a very outdoor environment, and for us it was very important to have this kind of feeling in the factory itself. So we've spent a lot of time developing the garden and making it a beautiful place that we can use for events, and also for the people who work in our factory to be able to just go out and have their almuerzo, have their lunch in a beautiful setting.
How you see, we love to make lamps, but we love more the things we can do with this. I mean, we can make parties with or presentation in the garden and take care of the garden. We love to learn from people we appreciate or we adore, and our best goal is to invite them for the longest is possible and talk deeply with them and find out ways to work or ways to make solutions for depends on the people. The second big time for us was when we received the National Innovation and Design Award in the 2020 with the pandemic.
Yeah, it was a pity because we can't have a picture with the King and the Queen without the masks on, so we don't know if it was them really. Maybe it wasn't. But we got the award, that's for sure. We were sitting in a theater in Granada. There was like 1 person, 3 seats empty, 1 person, 3 seats empty. So it looked like an empty auditorium, but we did talk to the King and the Queen afterwards, and she's quite an interesting woman actually. But anyway, a bit of our design process is summarized.
People now realise that design can be viewed as something truly valuable, like art.
I see design as a language. It's something we speak, but we use it to serve people.
Dame el teléfono.
Okay.
Para ver.
No toques, no toques.
You know, we make decisions that directly affect nature, our nature. Our decision is to create new discourses that put our clients in contact with the environment through our pieces. Time to think, to test, time to design. Time to find the best combination between materials and technology. As artisans, we must explore new connections that unite us to the elements that surround us. Only in this way will we stimulate the arts and design. This is our responsibility, and this is the only way we can express the nature of our artists.
Creativity is a way of contributing originality in the world.
So, how I was saying, collaboration for us is the beauty of our work, no? And we did, for example, I'm going to explain one example of how we work. When we have a product, like the armadillo, when we are going to the fair, I try to think about how big I can do it, or how the product I have between my hands can be exposed to be understood for the public and to interfere with them and make it and transform it, no? So in this case, the armadillo was a composition of different pieces of wood, and the light and shadow was the big problem. And we spent almost 8 months working with squares, trying to have the super good combination for the lamp and for the sea wood we made. This was in Valencia, and this was the way we was trying to figure out how can we fix it and design the end of the product. The sea wood constantly, the sea wood they saw, this one. The panel. Constantly reminds me one fish. And one fish, the fish I was imagining was in Del Bosco, in el Jardín de las Delicias. The fish is on the top, no? And I began to think about it, and then we met.
Obsessively.
We was working those days with Javier Gutierrez in Aqua Design, and they was making a beautiful thing. We had a empty space, white, and the exhibition, and then he begins to draw all the stand, and from the first day to the last one. So the last one was everything paint, even the floors and everything. And so we began in New York, no? Talking about, I asked him, please draw a beautiful fish, no? With this kind of scales. The point of the beginning point was the scales and the shadows and lights, but I wanted to use this like a skin fish, no? Fish skin. Tómale, dale. And he made a film. Why not? We make it shorter because it's too long. This is
The koi film was an idea of Javier Gutierrez to create an imaginary animal with what Mariví was wanting to do with the wooden scales. And you can see this was a motion graphics film. It was a very ambitious idea, but we thought it was a really cool idea.
Yes.
But the problem was it took a long time and cost a bit too much money, and we couldn't quite finish it. And so this beautiful piece of work, which is where you see the koi for the first time as an animated object, which is supposed to represent a lamp, is then transformed into a light sculpture. And this was presented at the Milan show. We had a screening room and people would come and see the little film. We just put in a little part of it here so you get an idea. No, go.
1, 2, 3.
So in Milan, Javier was there signing the posters, and we had the koi as far as a representation.
So we always, every year we make a big campaign because we love presentation. We love to show, to enjoy the work we did and present to the public the best we can, no? In this case was
castellano?
Es que no me sale el nombre de Gutiérrez, de
Javi. Inocuo.
Javi. So we end making the koi. Koi is 3.5 meters long, something very discreet, and we made the 4 groups who participate was the artisan, is Manolo Martin, who is a master. He made fallas. He made the last year ayuntamiento, the council, ¿cómo se dice ayuntamiento?
The city hall.
The
fire.
city hall falla. Bueno, he's all the family works in the vareta work, in the all way to make fallas, no? With pieces of wood you. Sí, sí.
I just wanted to say, why did we talk to Manolo? Okay, so we had a fish in our mind. We had a fish on motion graphics movie, and we had a 3-dimensional fish on a poster, and that was it. But Mariví was, like I said, a little obsessed with the idea of the fish, and how do you make the fish into something real? Well, that's when we thought the only way to make this fish is to talk to a fallas artisan.
Because it's very light, the way they construct is very light, so it's perfect to hang and don't have to
see
build.
He created a real version of what we were doing on the video.
Sí. And this is we had those days a big lab making investigation of a lot of different parts. We need to find out how to, because in the beginning we want the fish to move, but at least it was not.
Yeah.
And we made the campaign we made. We call it the Dreams.
So
and
all these photographs were done in Palacio de la Noya, which was at that time an abandoned palace in the Valencian countryside, and I think it belonged to the family of Rita Barberá, no?
Sí.
Anyway, so now we made these photographs there, which were called Dreams, and they were made with all the life-size collection.
Okay, ahora te toca a ti, tú lo de Manolo.
No, yo Manolo.
¿Tú Manolo? Tú.
Okay. Manolo Martin, like I said, is a fallas artisan. He's actually near here. He has his taller. He's been rewarded with many prizes for the best fallas. He's done the fallas durante la pandemia in the Ayuntamiento de Valencia in the City Hall. He's made the giant Pinocchio in El Pilar, which was like about 5 stories high. And using the vareta technique, we're able to create this collection called Life Size that we design and work with Manolo. In this case, we are creating large size animals. And the latest one was Birdie and Big Bird. These were designed by Isidro Ferrer, who is also a very good friend of ours and colleague from the beginning. When we were starting, we met Isidro. And do you know Isidro Ferrer, everyone?
Type it down
Anyone?
and find out who
Write it
is.
down. He's one of the best illustrators in Spain, as far as I'm concerned. And he has such a talent.
We adore him.
Yes. Anyway, so he designed these wooden objects in tiny little ones, which we then created into these big 3-meter bird sculptures.
So let's present what happened with Funny Farm, because we met Isidro.
That's Isidro, by the way, just so you want to recognize him. Yeah.
And we was waiting 10 years.
Yeah.
And because we asked him to make something for us, but he was very busy because he was working for the theater, la compañía de teatro nacional,
National Theatre Company.
and he was very busy. So finally he comes with 17 small sculptures, but no lamps, no lights.
And we were like, we do make lamps, you know. And he was like, yeah, I know, but
It's wood.
These are beautiful as
Yeah,
well.
and we love it too.
And we thought, well, it's wood. It's wood, and we created this collection called Funny Farm. Does anyone here know what Funny Farm means in English?
Bueno,
No?
Manicomio.
Okay, it's the funny farm is the crazy house, okay, like the psychiatric ward. Basically, all these animals have a personality and a character, and because we're working with Grasa Toro, you can see here,
Yeah, he presents as Grasa Toro as a poet, a surrealist
a
poet.
surrealist writer from Amaño, and
Sí.
and we created the storybook where each character has a little personality and interact with one another.
Very
Okay?
beautiful.
So, you know, one's in love with the other one's jealous because they're in love with the other, all that sort of thing. So you have a complete story. And from there we created 3 or 4 life-size lamps like Smellyphant and Walking Fish that you saw before.
The presentation has like, it's not, another thing we love is the graphic design of the everything we did. This was the first campaign we made. It's called Light and Nature. We made it with Emilio Lecuona, and was 2007.
2009.
2009. And he made, under my point of view, a beautiful work.
The interesting thing here is we're combining obviously the photos with images of nature, but it had an effect, return effect as well on us, where we started creating as well some ceramic birds which you could buy and hang next to your lamps. And these were made in Manises and Reflejo Árabe. It was like also working with
Mañosa.
an artisan. We worked initially with Javier Mañosa, and then we brought the product and started making it in Manises with sorry, I can't remember the name. A local craftsperson who makes all the birds.
So why not when 2 years later, because the passion for the music, Sandro's passion of music, we decided to make like, in the beginning was like a black note, Blue Notes records.
Yeah.
And what we did was cover this with inside a poster.
So this cover was, each album, let's say, was a model that we were producing that year or presenting that year. And the back of the album cover, as you can see there, was like a little bit of technical detail, and inside was the poster. But the best part of the campaign, I think, was working with LA producer Rhythma, who was a musician I admired a lot. I wrote to this person saying, we're a lighting company in Valencia, and he was like, that's crazy, I love it, okay. And I said, well, we'd really love you to come and play at our event in Valencia. If we fly you here, will you come? And he was like, sure, I'll go. So he came, we met, we shared some time, and he wrote an album of music, original music for each model. So there's actually like, every lamp has a song, and it's on a CD which we published as well. And
Of course,
you
we
can
made.
see also here how art and product then blend and become, they influence each other. So sometimes from the art we develop the product, and sometimes from the product we develop the art.
The art.
This motion graphics film was, for us, it was a spectacular piece. It was actually made with one of Rhythma's songs, and you have a beautiful, very catch me if you can kind of presentation, sort of very mid-century. Each one was the models we were presenting. that year.
Novelties, yeah. ¿Pero esto de qué año es? ¿Del 2003? ¿2013? Lo pone aquí. paso ya, estamos... Vale. So this is a one way of campaigns, and this is another one, because what happened is I was so tired to make photos like table, glass, book, flower, and lamp. And I was very, and then we decided to make like a film, no? A
Storyboard.
A storyboard with Carlos Grasa Toro, the same writer, who write for us 3 different tales with one woman like the protagonist, no? And the relationship with a man, no? Every tale was a different relationship. And this was in 13?
Yeah.
And it's a woman looking through the window and imagine the 3 histories, no? Was a little bit of copy. And the special thing here is we rent a house, we paint it, we bring the furniture, and we contract 2 actors, 1 man and 1 woman, and make the history, no? And the special thing here is the retouch of the photographer. We work here with Quality, who made, because the objective was to create a kind of, was a campaign for the States, okay? And then it's like 50s, Hopper, at night, and women's was the mark points, no? And that's it. And in this case, the illustrator was Ricky Blanco, who we adore as well, and make things like that.
For us, it's very important to communicate. Anything we communicate, we prefer to communicate it with something that's beautiful, an image which stays in your mind. And with Ricky Blanco, we've done several very simple images which we just need for one reason or another, which sometimes we swap the work for a lamp. We don't always work with money. Sometimes it's better just to work with product. And between us, in the art world, that happens quite often, so we do that, and it works very well. One of our big commercial success stories, I guess, well, for us, it is, there have been a lot of good projects, but one of the ones which is most special for us is working with Julie Capella, and who is the interior designer who designs all of the Jose Andres restaurants around the world. So I'm going to quickly go through them. You can see Julie Capella loves using color, and he loves especially red and yellow, obviously, because what he's transmitting is Spain to the international community. He works with all the suppliers in the restaurants are Spanish manufacturers. The latest one which they've done is in the Palm in Dubai in Atlantis, which is a pretty spectacular building in a very horrible place. But that's just my opinion, okay? The restaurant itself is lovely. I visited it last year, and it has a beautiful interior design. Obviously, Julie Capella has done, again, extremely well in transmitting the message of Spain internationally, and through this kind of design and working with people like Jose Andres, who end up being ambassadors for Spanish culture overseas, we create these very special spaces. In New York, there is a place called Little Spain, Mercado Little Spain. It's actually set up like a real market. the idea. It's a food court, and there are like market stalls, paradas, where you can go and order your food and then you eat in the center. But it's all Spanish food, so each one you've got grill, you've got fried, you've got all the different seafood and different sections. So it's a very interesting place. Also you have mariscal murals, and it's a special place. It's also incredibly expensive. I think we paid $100 for 3 tapas. And we didn't drink wine. We had water only.
You have rib flu.
It's pretty disgusting. But, but it looks wonderful.
And tastes very well too.
Yeah. Fish is another restaurant by Jose Andres, which is in Bahamas, where he used the koi. He's used koi in a couple of his restaurants already. And here you can see that one.
Is Maryland?
This is the other fish restaurant, which he did in Maryland. And Dorado Beach in Puerto Rico is a place where we created a custom item for the bar restaurant area, which is this large...
Was our first work
yes,
with
that
him.
was our first sort of big custom piece. We're going to go through a little bit of projects now very quickly, okay? Hospitals for us and wellness is an area where we work a lot, especially in places like Germany, Holland, the United States, where they have a concept of creating spaces which are natural and friendly, and therefore create an environment for getting better, quicker, but also for old people, create a nice environment where they can stay and be in a tranquil sort of setting. So I think all of these are really important from a healthcare point of view. LZF loves to work in the healthcare area. We also have been working a lot with the NH collection, which is the high-end collection of NH, where we've done some very special installations. And we're just going to skim through those now. In Copenhagen, for example, Tenerife. And for us, obviously, we began when our first installation in Valencia, you can still see it, was done in '96. It's in the Café Lisboa, which is in Plaza de Collado, behind the, in front of the market. And those lamps are still
alive.
Probably were still pieces that were handmade by me, in fact, at that time. So they're still alive, and they're still being used in that same bar, which is still a very typical bar of the area. But you can see how, especially for hospitality, the ability to create beautiful lighting is a beautiful atmosphere to eat in and dine in and socialize in. Also, just very quickly here, you see the power of repetition. Repetition is a very powerful tool, and I think it's used very effectively. Rather than making gigantic lamps, it's also very positive to make constellations of lamps. The big bird you can see here in Austria, koi in Switzerland, in a Brazilian sushi restaurant. Different ways people use things. And I think for us, it's really intriguing to see how designers, interior designers, use our products. Like a painter uses paints to create something which maybe we wouldn't think of doing. And so it's really lovely to see how people use our products in different ways to create different atmospheres. And so I think that is one of the most beautiful things about seeing projects después, afterwards, sorry, is like, wow, they used that really well. Occasionally they don't. But normally they are quite well used, right, Pete?
Sí,
Yeah.
bueno.
Here you can see an example of, I'll just go back, the ceramic birds and how we can hang them with the lights to create a more of a natural sort of setting in the lighting.
Designers.
Here we go. This one's for you.
No.
No, I mean them.
Ah.
But I can give it to you. Oh, it's both of us.
Okay.
Design is, of course, is there are many different, very different types of relationships with designers. There are designers who are like friends, and there are designers who are like very
Enemies.
professional, distant people. There are designers who are happy to collaborate and let you change things. There are others who don't want you to change anything. So I'm not going to tell you who is who, but everyone is their own person. And for us, it's very fun to work with them in different ways.
Okay. One of the last one was Lucas Muñoz, who works with things he has at
collects.
hand, no? Bueno, no sé si dice at hand. And this is the way to show a lamp. It's called as simple as possible, ASAP. No?
Yeah.
¿Cómo se dice en inglés?
ASAP.
And it's like copper conductor, and dilo tú porque todas las palabras son
Yeah,
raras.
so this is like a science experiment,
Exacto.
basically. Copper rods, driver, LEDs,
Elephants.
alligator clips to clip on and make the power. So it's a different way of making a light. It's like I'm going to make a light at home, you know, that kind of thing. But at the same time, it has an incredible amount of beauty and expression. The base is 3D terracotta printed, 3D printed terracotta, which makes that very special.
Y él es profesor en
And he
Eindhoven.
also teaches the master's class in Eindhoven University.
For
and
years.
his speciality is obviously recycling and upcycling.
Sí. Was very funny to work with him. And the other one who was super funny was Candela Cor, who makes hats. All the hats Candela made are like, I saw it and I thought, wow, those are lamps. It's like, I saw it, it's like, and just I came through her and I asked her to make something for us, and he just began last year, like Lucas, working with us. And it's like another area for LCDF because it's more arty, it's more, they are unique pieces because it's impossible to make two equals, and Candela is not able to do it. No, it's always is a different one.
There's something in our DNA which always pulls us back to art, right? They're like everyone's saying, you've got to become more industrial, you've got to become more economically fun.
But we don't.
But we're always like pushed back that way.
We don't know to work
Any
in
other way.
in the only economic way. No, it's like impossible.
We started working with a German designer, Bodo Spillane, last year. His speciality in very high-end homeware, you know, porcelain plates, carpets, tapestries, wall coverings. And with him we developed, or he brought us Volière, which is a kind of like a new interpretation of a classical design. And also he brought, can I have that?
Sí.
Yeah. And then, that was the end of him. So we'll just go on to Ellie. Okay.
Ellie Gutierrez was working with Patricia Urquiola
Yes.
and in England for years, 5 years minimum. Bueno, and she's from Valencia, so when she came back to Valencia, he came to us and present her work, and we was in love with her work, of course, and she made like 2 collections, and this is Oma. It's like every flap is, you can move it and put it in the position you prefer.
Ray is probably one of the designers we've been working with more time than ever because he came
And
from
continuously.
Ireland and he walked into our booth at the Valencia fair in 96, correct? And with a book, his portfolio, and he said, I'm a designer. And we were like, okay. And we, you know, at that time, like Mariví was saying, in the 90s, there wasn't so many people who'd come up and say, I'm a designer. You know what I mean? So it was a bit strange. He brought out his stuff. It was all very, very funky, but nothing we could make. And since then, we've been working with him many years, and he has done some very iconic pieces.
But
for our collection.
he was working with us for 2
He
years
actually,
or
when
3
he
years.
came and he said, would you like to make one of our designs? We said, one of my designs. We said, well, we can't, but you want a job? And he said, okay. And so he came and worked with us in the warehouse, in the workshop with me, literally making lamps, not designing.
We
He
was 4
making
people.
lamps. There was just 4 of us making lamps at that time.
And I was making the image
Yeah.
and the photos and things like that.
And then he, rightly so, he started designing some products which we made, and that's you.
Sí, pero sigue, sigue.
So these are all Ray's designs.
Joder. Jolín.
The Lola,
My father.
Papa, he always rings at this time. Okay, so he's 95, but he's still with it. Lola is one of the best, I think, for me, one of his most incredible designs, because Ray's specialty is infinite shapes, and to create a perfect cone in wood veneer is not easy. So he did this with interlocking wooden strips, which we cut in a plotter, and then they're all locked together and create this shape. We made a very simple presentation.
Cuidado. Ah, bueno.
We didn't really have video, so this is how sometimes you have to make a presentation with a bit of Paco de Lucia and you've got it. The new and the latest collections, just very quickly, working with Ramon Esteve. He's a very architectural designer, he's an architect, and creates some very special designs. Miguel Herranz has also been working with us for many years, and the Mikado, which was designed many years ago, is now enjoying a renacimiento, like it's starting to become popular again, and it's a beautiful fixture.
Bueno, we love it.
Yeah. Sumum is a studio from Castellón. It's really funny because with Jose Maria, we worked with him when we made our first catalog. He lived on our sofa for like 3 months while we were making the photography in the Barrio del Carmen.
Someone led us a palace in the Calle Caballeros, and we stayed there for 3 months with furniture for all the people we knew, and 3 months making photos.
And so, but then we met again after 3 months. We were pretty sick of one another, and we never saw each other again for like 15 years. But then all of a sudden we saw each other again, and now he's designing lights for us again. So, good. These are wood straps. It's a very interesting collection because it's made to look like a big bunch of wood veneers that you just pull together in the middle.
And when you push the arrows, make forms, no?
Maife obviously have worked with us on all the glass, and
Perdón.
and Yono has worked with us as well, and many small pieces. And at the moment we have the cordless miniature lamp, which you can see is quite cool. And Burkhardt, who is a German designer, also been with us for many, many years, and collaborates in a big way. So many products Burkhardt and Mariví have worked on together, as have Mariví and Ray, where they share the design credits and etc. So, but you have to be open to that. You know, it's not that easy to say a designer comes with a design and we say, oh yeah, we like the design, but can we change it? You know, some people don't like that at all. But
we don't want to change it. We want to
make it better.
To make it.
Well, more us, maybe. It would be the best way to say
And
it.
of course, it's in our hands.
So Burkhardt, for example, designed the poppies, which were just the round balls. Mariví put them together and made the totem. So, you know, with that kind of thing, it's where you get inspired from another person's design, which then creates another design.
And Burkhardt is super generous. So a lot of the designs who work with us are very generous and very open to talk and transform and make another thing.
Mikiya is a Japanese designer who spends half his time in Valencia, and he was decorating a restaurant. He wanted to develop these products called suns. These are like panels which you hang over. They don't have any light in them. There's no electricity in them. They just interact with the light that you already have in the restaurant. So by doing that, you can change completely the look of a place without touching any lighting whatsoever. So with the panels, that's an interesting way of doing it. It also interacts with sound, so you can break sound because they're not acoustic panels, but they do break up the sound.
And what we should say is we love to work with the hands because they that makes you another way to live, another way to relax, another way to think, and everything is important. When you design, all is around you. You have to absorb it and to think about how can you make it, como es belleza, can you show it like with beauty, with sense, with functionality, with design is life for us. It's like everything, the public, the last client, the people is working in the workshop, the providers, everyone has something to say, has something to apport, or writers, or whatever. It's important to be conscious about what is around you. No?
We love to have people into the factory and work with them there. We have symposiums every year, which are 2 or 3 days, where we invite architects and designers to come in and visit us in our space. For us, this is very important. The garden is a wonderful place to create magic in the evenings and have dinners after your work in the factory during the day. And we also ask influencers to come and give speeches to our staff so that they can understand a little bit more about design. They're not just a factory worker, they're actually some people making beautiful objects which are very important for the product. And we also work a lot with you, the students, who come every year either from the UPV or from the EASTE. We work with the master's program, and this is a little bit of how we want to close.
It's last one. We
This is
finished.
a farewell dinner for a lighting symposium. It's all themed on James Bond, like they're called super agents, and we bring in wardrobe, hairdressing, we dress people up, and we have a gala dinner in the factory, and we set up a Casino Royale, basically. And we are the waiters. The waiters are usually people who work in the factory as well. So we all keep it very personal.
Familia, ¿no? And that's it.
Thank you.
Bueno, ¿ahora qué?
There is one.
Thank you for this hour. I enjoyed so much. I'm researching on digital media and researching with visitors about the passion for digital skills. And it was nice to see your story, to see your life, the story of your product. And my question is about the story. So I think you are not just designing products, but you are designing stories. How much intentional is in your design process thinking about stories and using tools to design stories?
Okay, because it's very important to make something else, no? To be in love with the product and to building and blah, blah, blah. But for me, it was very important, like a painter, it was very important to make a picture, no? And to make a picture every year different, but with sense, no? Like, and was in our initial proposal to make it more attractive. The product always is very important to be close to other people, no?
I think that are essential for communicating anything. And for us, we were like a company nobody knew. We were nobody. So for us, telling the story was the only way people would know who we were or what we did. And so we've been telling the story.
And we enjoy it.
Yeah, and we'd say, okay, if we're going to make, so for us a campaign is kind of like a story as well. You think, how are we going to transmit this? What are we going to do? But it's not like we don't sort of sit down and have like, brainstormings and, no, they're quite spontaneous and serendipitous. And the reason when you work with lots of different people from all the different areas, like it could be a chef, it could be a musician, a poet, a writer, everything contributes their little grain to that story and to the serendipitous moment of product story development.
There are cliques the year before with people you respect, and if they get closer, and we can be closer, always it's like, if a writer, let's write a book. If a musician, let's make, it's like the other give us the ideas also. Yeah. No, it's like, we want to work with this person, so.
You're welcome.
Okay, so there is I just only one very quickly question. In the process design, how many time do you spend working with your hands?
All day.
What, 80%, 50%?
I think
Doesn't matter drawing or making models.
there's also different, we approach product design in different ways too. We don't follow the same formula. If Mariví is working on a project that's really manual and hands-on, if we're working with a designer who's brought a product which is practically finished, and
not always.
No, but I'm saying if we're working with a product that's practically finished, which could be like the duplets and stuff like that, where really you only have to draw the parts and manufacture them. Yes?
We need people who is crazy about light, who love about the connections and the new way to illuminate things, etc. Because we don't find very easy people who is like crazy about this. No, it's very hard to find it. So it's a big opportunity, no?
Yeah, I think passion is an important factor. The passion, that you feel for your work and for your object if you're a designer, and how you transmit it.
So thank you so much again. You are going to be always very welcome here. This is your house. Okay.
largo, ¿eh?
No, no, espectacular.